What's up, guys? This is the Gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. And guys, I'm going to say a few quick words about The Rise. Okay, going forward, I'm letting you guys know I don't say Star Wars or Skywalker with this. I'm just calling it The Rise. To me, this has been forever separated from Star Wars lore. So I'm just going to talk about it like some very, very strange anomaly in time and history, but it's no longer connected to the overall Star Wars story for me inside my mind. If you want to accept it that way, that's up to you. All right. Now, let me just say real quick, guys, that I do understand people liking this movie. All right. There's a couple of different levels. All right. On a purely entertainment level, I think this movie delivers in ways that The Last Jedi never ever could. I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying? It's like it just is what it is. J.J. Abrams, I think, has always had his like one of his strong points is that I think he knows how to play to the crowd. You know what I'm saying? He might not be the best storyteller in the world. He's nowhere near being original. But let's face it, the guy does get results, which is the reason why everybody brings him in. It's just what he does. All right. So he's worked his magic on this so-called sequel trilogy, and I see where it's getting pretty decent word of mouth. You know what I mean? I think that after a while, when people really start to look at this as a trilogy and not just a one-off movie, they're going to understand the level of failure that we're actually dealing with here. It doesn't take that long, I think, when you start having that conversation. But as a movie, right now, like I said, I understand. People are going to the movies and they're having a good time, and that's all that they would ask for. Chomp. Excuse me, guys. I'm not. I'm still under the weather, but chomp on a little bit of popcorn. Throw back some drinks, whatever the case may be. Woo! And that's it. So yeah, I don't have any hard feelings towards that. I refuse to be arguing with people about this. If it works for you, if this is what's cool for you, that's cool with me. All right, I love it. If you like it, I love it. Okay, so here we go. All right, let me just talk about what I saw. All right, when I saw this, and I want to give one more disclaimer here. I want to say to you, like, none of my subscribers, because I know that my regular viewers know better, but if you're somebody who's coming in here and you're casually watching the video, I just want you to ask yourself this. Are you a sensitive bitch? All right? I want you to ask yourself that. Look at yourself in the mirror. You don't have to answer me. All right? But I want you to ask your soul this question. Am I a sensitive bitch? All right? If you are indeed a sensitive bitch and you're honest about it, then you probably want to find your way off of this channel. I mean, you got two choices, right? You can either stop watching, or you can keep watching, and you can announce yourself to the world as a sensitive bitch in my comment section by taking things personally that I don't mean personally. Okay, I'm just giving my opinion here, but if you want to be that person who comes in and decides that you want to insult me personally based on me giving my opinion, and you want to announce to the world that you're a sensitive bitch, well, then that's your right too, okay? So anyway, going on, all right, The Rise. Okay, now, as we all know, the leaks were true, so I don't know why anybody would have paid money anywhere to see this movie, especially those of us who read the leaks. But I just want to say that I didn't pay 1/2 cent to see this movie. Not one. I told you guys years ago I wasn't going to pay for it, and I didn't. All I can say to you is stick fire, stick fire, stick fire, stick fire, stick fire. Okay? So there it was online. I was able to watch it, and I still feel like something is owed to me. Like I said, unfortunately, I wasn't watching this from a standpoint where I just wanted to see like a fast-paced, lighthearted movie. Had I done that, I probably would have had a better viewing experience. But I can't help it at this point. All right, this is a movie that billed itself as being the end of the Skywalker saga, which we all know is bullshit. I don't believe that Disney has the right to end the Skywalker saga because they wouldn't have made the creative choices that George Lucas made when he was making his original movies, his original 6 movies. They wouldn't have invested so heavily into Luke Skywalker as a hero because we all know they're looking for a more feminist approach. They definitely wouldn't have engaged a Han Solo character, and Leia would have been a lot different, as was evidenced in Galaxy of Adventures. That's probably more along the lines of what they wanted. So, because they didn't create these characters and they didn't create these adventures in that narrative, I don't think that they had the right to even end the so-called Skywalker saga. As a matter of fact, anybody who watches those first 6 movies, in particular the first 3, I think you would be pretty satisfied that the saga ended the way that it did. All right, but these people who don't even know how to stage a convincing lightsaber battle or have somebody's limbs get cut off or bleed or anything like that. Like I said, it's a totally different mentality. It's a totally different way of storytelling. So I don't think that it's even valid that they would call themselves in addition to that original set of films. But they wanted to be ambitious and they wanted to do that. So that's the reason why I went into this movie scrutinizing it the way that I did. If it was just some fluff piece and they didn't even incorporate our original characters, I'm talking about Han, Luke, and Leia, then like I said, it might have been totally different. But where you really messed up at was you didn't want to let go of what came before. And what you ended up doing was you ended up ruining what came before. Every character that you can name, you left no stone unturned. You even went back and got the Emperor. That the Death Star blew clean up. There was nothing left. There is no way. And you didn't even offer an explanation for why the Emperor was still alive. How disrespectful to people's intelligence could that possibly be? You're telling a story, you don't want to explain how the man survived? It makes no sense, but I was laughing because they had him hung up like that suit. That one suit that you save for funerals, you never know when you're going to wear it, but it's good to have it hung up. That's the way the Emperor was. His current situation was he was just hung up. Almost like that booth in the lobby of every Walmart where you have a bunch of stuffed animals and you have that crane where you pay and you use the crane to try to lift out the different prizes, and sometimes the prize gets stuck on there. It's like that's what Palpatine looked like to me. He looked like he was just stuck on a crane and they just couldn't get him off of there. And poor Palpatine, he's like, long have I waited. I've had to go to the bathroom. I got to take a mean shit. All these years long have I waited. Please get me off of here. But he was stuck. All right, so of course he's in a bad mood and he sent out this message, so the whole galaxy knew what was going on. So of course you got MC Ren, Kylo Ren. You got Kylo Ren, who now has to, he's Supreme Leader, so he's trying to figure out what's going on here with the Emperor. So he goes out trying to find the Emperor, which is, once again, I don't understand this. You're supposed to be the Supreme Leader. Why aren't you sending out the Knights of Ren? That would have been pretty badass if he had sent the Knights of Ren to go looking for the Emperor. He just could have said, bring me his head. You know what I mean? Then he would have looked like he was more in control, more of a Supreme Leader. You know what I mean? Because as it is, the Knights of Ren, once again, didn't have anything to do, so we knew nothing about them. It would have been cool to see them go out there, maybe even battle with some of the Snoke clones, And, but no, we knew nothing about the Knights of Ren. And in my mind, I'm always trying to fill in the blanks, right? So I'm thinking to myself, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm like, I know who the Knights of Ren are. I know who they are. That one over there is Randy. That one over there is Marlon. That one over there is Jackie. That's Jermaine. That's Tito. You know what I mean? It's the Jacksons, So it's like every time I see the Knights of Ren, in my mind, I'm hearing dun 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 dun. We're the Knights of Ren, and we're not doing anything once again. Yeah. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Dun 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 dun. So that's your Knights of Ren, right? Not very scary, but hey, they can move. So anyway, so Kylo Ren, he goes off to find the Emperor, and the Emperor tells him, I can show you the world. Just get me out of here. You know what I mean? So Kylo was like, okay, well, I won't kill you because you're going to give me all this power. You got all of these fleet of ships, and they all have Death Star capability and all that stuff. And you might wonder, where did the Emperor get all of this money for this? Well, because he's like caught in this contraption where people put in money to move his lifeless ass around. It's like all that money accumulates, so they're dropping in quarters and dollars and shit like that, playing this game where the Emperor is all hung up. And I'm assuming that after all these years it accumulated, so he's able to stack some chips. So he's able to buy this fleet, and he's offered Kylo Ren all of this power. So Kylo's on board, he's going along with it, so that's where we begin with Kylo Ren. They never show what he is like as Supreme Leader, what he has accomplished, who he's put in place around him, and all this stuff. And once again, I don't know, general audiences don't really give a fuck, so they just go on. So meanwhile, they reintroduce us to Rey, she's training, and she's being trained by Leia. And unfortunately, they have reduced Leia to an NPC. Yes, she is a non-playable character in this movie. That's Leia. And you think there's some dignity in that shit. Okay, so Leia is there watching as Rey is training and everything. So Leia has like really bad throwaway lines like what is it? Never underestimate the power of a droid. So Rey can say something like, "I'm gonna go turn off the light over there. Is that okay, Leia?" And Leia will say, "Never underestimate the power of a droid." And then Rey can say something like, "I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna take a shit. Is that all right with you, Leia?" And Leia will say, "Never underestimate the power of a droid," because that's all she can say. There's nothing else she can say. So Rey is like, "Okay, thank you, Master." So she calls Leia Master. So I guess that the implication has been made that Leia is a Master Jedi, right? We're not going to debate this. She called her Master. Okay, so that brings up the question to me. If Leia has achieved Master status, right, and I'm assuming this is not something that has just been achieved lately, then I would have to ask, bear with me, guys, why does she send Han Solo to go confront Kylo Ren, who has become quite powerful, allegedly, in the ways of the dark side, knowing that Kylo is not in his right mind, right? So she knew that as a Master Jedi, that the chances of Han Solo getting killed going after Kylo Ren had to be very high, right? Why couldn't she have gone to confront her own son as a Jedi Master? No, she sat around waiting for Luke to do it, right? And then when Luke was there, when Luke finally came around and they were on crate, why would she let Luke go out to confront Kylo on his own so he could die from overstressing himself with the Force? See, this is what that pastor meant when he said, "God help me, but you can't trust those hoes." You know what I mean? Leia just stood back in the cut. And then, after Luke had already paid his price, the sacrifice, when they were trapped in the bunker and they were blocked off by the rocks, why did she sit there like all hope was lost? Meanwhile, she had to wait for Rey to come and move the rocks. She could have moved the damn rocks on her own. I mean, am I right or am I wrong? Am I right or am I wrong? Right? So anyway, she's just a so-called training Rey, all right? Rey decides, or she gets this premonition or whatever, that she needs to be looking for the Allspark. I mean, the Tesseract. I mean, the Wayfinder, okay? So she's realized that she's got to do that, right? So she's surrounded by Poe and by Finn, and this is something that they did that was right. They brought them all together again, which is something that dumbass roundhead Ryan Johnson never thought to do, to have them actually have a camaraderie. So she's got she's got Finn and Poe there, right? And Finn, I gotta say, Finn is looking really metrosexual in this movie, isn't he? It's like he has the little twists and things like that. Now that takes a lot of maintenance, guys. It takes a lot of maintenance to walk around with a twist and everything. There's somebody in the Resistance that like sits down on the doorstep and does Finn's hair apparently, and also trims his eyebrows. Like, dude look real pretty, man. I don't know what the fuck. So anyway, another thing, John Boyega said that Finn wasn't going to be chasing after Rey in this movie. Well, that turns out to be a lie. All he did was chase after Rey in this movie. And I don't blame him for leaving his script laying around. There was nothing in that script for him. I would assume that he memorized his lines in all of about a half an hour. The only thing he got to say in this movie was, "Rey, Rey, Rey." The only challenge for him was to figure out how he was going to say Rey. Well, in this scene, I'll say, "Rey." In this scene, I'll say, "Rey." In this scene, I'll say, "Rey." All right, so that's all there was. So he's literally chasing after her in this whole movie, despite the fact that he's got this new woman here who's with him. She seems to really be liking him, and she looks pretty nice, man. Looks like she keeps it tight, nice and clean and everything. But no, he doesn't want to deal with that. He wants to be chasing after Rey. And the one point when I did cheer in the movie is when he's chasing after Rey. Rey is like engaged in foreplay with Kylo, because that's all their lightsaber battles are, is foreplay. All right, so she's going at it with Kylo, and Finn comes running up, "Rey!" and Rey is just like, "Motherfucker," boom, and she blasts him, with a force blast, knocks him back on his ass. She's just like, get away from me, you know what I mean? Leave me alone. And I'm like, bravo, Rey, bravo. That's what you do. That's honesty of character, because you got to be tired of this dude by now, just chasing you around. So Rey and Kylo continue to have their little foreplay, their little mixing it up and everything. They're like turning each other on and stuff. They know that, they're digging each other. All of their lightsaber battles don't feel like they have any weight whatsoever. They're not trying to kill each other. They're just trying to find new and exciting ways to get together, right? So, also, the force connection between them turns out to be very strong. They can pass things to each other, matter, you know what I mean? They can pass things that have weight, to each other. We've never seen something like this before. There's a scene where Rey passed Kylo a lightsaber when he's going against the Knights of Ren, So she puts her hand behind her back. She puts the lightsaber behind her back and she passes it to Kylo. And Kylo puts his hand behind his back and he comes out with the lightsaber. I'm like, how, like, when did this happen? But I will say this, since that's so stupid, it makes me think about stupid things, right? So I'm thinking to myself, well, if they had really gotten together and gotten in a domestic situation, I could see where that could come in handy. Let's say Kylo was on the shitter, he's on the toilet, and he runs out of paper, and he says, Rey, I need more toilet paper. And Rey's like, don't worry, darling. And she takes the toilet paper, puts it behind her back, and Kylo's in the bathroom. He's like, oh, thanks, dear. You know what I mean? You think dumb things when you see dumb things. So anyway, so it goes on, and I'm not going to get into all of the details of all of this, but I will say that I did have a favorite part, all right, to this. I had a very favorite part to this, and it would have had to have been Lando. Lando came in, and he made the whole movie for me, all right? And because the way he came in, like, he was so charismatic, he's so full of charm, even at like 80 something years old. And the way he came in still reminded me of The Empire Strikes Back. When he came in, he's like, the nerve of you to show your face around here, and he's faking Han out, And this one is kind of the same, so he bails out Rey, Finn, and Poe, and because they were kind of like trying to keep their head down. And Lando's like, because Wookiees stand out in the crowd, And I thought that was pretty cool because he starts laughing and everything, and he's just having fun, So I really appreciated that. I appreciated his portrayal because I feel like he was very recognizable as himself. Whereas with Mark Hamill, that was not Luke. With Harrison Ford, he was the most recognizable, I think, to himself, but too much because he shouldn't have been exactly the same way he was when we met him back in A New Hope. He was supposed to have, kind of like progressed as a character. And Leia was just, unfortunately, Carrie Fisher was past her best years, so she didn't come across so well in all of this. But I did appreciate the way that Lando came across, the way that Billy D. Williams portrayed him was very true to the character, and I took it as him bringing some dignity to the legacy characters. I think that he did that for all of them, you know what I mean? And I love the fact that he proved beyond a shadow of a doubt to Don Glover that there's only one. There's only one Lando Calrissian, and it's Billy D. Williams, and I was so glad to see him. And I loved his attitude, when Poe was downing himself and he asked Lando, how did you guys do this? Lando was quite simply like, we had each other. I mean, there was so much heart in that. You know what I mean? Like, Lando kind of took, like, his approach to all of this was like, we did this before and we're going to do it again. You never saw him doubt that. So I really like that. I like that he was an anchor that way. That's the way I wish they would have portrayed all of them. This has just been a huge, huge, huge missed opportunity. Because all of them together, seeing Lando that way, I can't help but believe that all of them together would have been absolute freaking dynamite together. And they missed it, for all time. So anyway, the bullshit story goes on, and just to wrap it up real quick, because you guys have heard all the leaks, you've heard all the details. Rey ends up facing off with the Emperor, but before that, Kylo gets, I guess, a wake up call from his mother. So Leia reaches out to Kylo through the Force, and it overtasks her, so she ends up dying. She collapses, and feeling that, Kylo drops his defenses when he's having one of his lover spats with Rey, and he drops his little lightsaber, and she picks it up and runs him clean through, cheap shot Rey, and so now Kylo has been mortally wounded, and that might have complicated things with Leia. You never know, guys, because the way that was filmed, the way that it happened, when Kylo gets hit, it's almost like he's connected with Leia. So I don't know if that hurt her as well. But anyway, Rey immediately sensing that Leia also is dying, I guess that she now feels sorry for what they're doing, and she goes to force heal Kylo, which is something I never saw before. That they would have this type of power. I've heard that it happened in the books in the EU and all that stuff. Only certain people can do it, but apparently Rey can do it because it's Rey. So she heals him, and then he has kind of a weird force chat with Han Solo, with his father. Harrison Ford comes back, and a lot of the dialogue between them is exactly the same as The Force Awakens, but I guess this time Kylo is hearing him. So they try to pass off Harrison Ford, Han Solo's character, as a memory, but he's talking about current events. You know what I mean? That's not a memory. It's like they just found a cheap way to make Harrison Ford, Han Solo, a Force ghost. So I guess at this point, Kylo Ren decides that now I'm going to do something different. Now I want to be Ben Solo. My mom has died. My father, he's here talking to me and stuff, and he's got like so much regret. So he decides he's going to throw it all away. Literally, he throws his lightsaber away and everything. And he's going to be Ben Solo again. Now, Rey is having her little showdown with the Emperor, Palpatine, because she's his granddaughter and everything. And he's pretty much just bringing back the same tired dialogue, that he used in the Return of the Jedi. He's just like, strike me down and this and that and look at your pitiful fleet. And it's like, come on, guys. It's like anybody who knows, like, how are you satisfied with this? Like I said before, I get it. The actual movie is exciting, it's sweeping and stuff like that. But you can't deny, the rip-off aspect of all of this. You just can't deny that. So, anyway, Ben Solo comes to help her out, and he ends up getting knocked off into the water. I mean, you've heard about all of this. And Rey goes and faces down Palpatine, and Palpatine declares that he is all of the Sith in one. She declares that she's all of the Jedi in one. And she overpowers Palpatine, which is absolutely ridiculous. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching the Clone Wars, and it was that episode where Palpatine goes after Darth Maul and his brother. That was such a badass sequence. He just comes in and is just like, "You are my competition," and he wipes them out. You know what I mean? And that's Palpatine, man. Palpatine he's a beast. He's an absolute beast. So to see him get bested by Rey this way, knowing the history, oh my gosh, I just can't, I can't reconcile with all of that crap. So anyway, she ends up overpowering Palpatine, but she dies from the effort of all of that. So she falls out. Then Solo gets up, does the little force healing with her. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't impregnating her when he was doing that. Maybe that'll come up in another set of films. I don't know. But so he brings her back to life, right? And they have a moment where they're looking into each other's eyes. And I have to say, Adam Driver is a very powerful actor. I love that he didn't get any dialogue, but you can see in his eyes, you can see all of a sudden it seemed like he was seeing what his life could have been, by looking at Rey. And he gives her this smile. I mean, it was sweet. I'm not a Reylo. I'm just saying, the acting, okay? So, so then they, they're looking in each other's eyes and stuff. And it was a very tender moment. And Rey is looking at him. And I can't help but, like, in my mind, I'm hearing Vanessa Williams. I'm hearing, "But now we're standing face to face. Isn't this world a crazy place? Just when I thought our chance had passed." Ooh, the Cole. "You went and saved the best for last." Woo! Oh, man. So anyway, Kylo goes and dies, right? And Rey gets her ass out of there. And meanwhile, Lando leads the fleet to victory because Poe started doubting himself. And Lando's like, "Look, pussy boy, I got this, all right? Let's do this." So they wrap it up. So Rey, she gets out, she gets reunited with people. They're hugging and everything. And then she finds herself back down on Tatooine. And this was a very disturbing, sequence for me. Maybe it's just me, but I kind of felt that at this point they were saying goodbye to George Lucas's legacy. All right, where it all started. Like they go down to Luke's old home in Tatooine and she's walking around, she's looking at everything. Everything looks perfect to me. Maybe I have to watch this again, all right? Maybe it was the copy I was watching, but it looked like Luke's home was undisturbed. It looked the same way it did so many years ago when they were all sitting around the table. Like I half expected to hear Aunt Beru in the background, Ray, Ray. You know what I mean? It seemed that way to me. And then she goes and she buries Luke and Leia's lightsaber, out in the sand and everything. And like I said, I just felt like they were burying George Lucas's legacy. I felt like they were burying us as fans. It just didn't feel right to me. And then she looks off and she sees Luke and Leia Force Ghost, and some chick is walking by, and the chick says to her, hey bitch, who are you? And she's like, Ray Skywalker. And then she looks off at the twin sons, and she's got BB-8 there, and there it is, directed and written by J.J. Abrams, I believe, and that was it. All right, and guys, like I said, I'm not here to dump on the fans, especially Fandom Menace fans who love this movie, because I'm realizing there's a few of you out there. I'm just saying it didn't do it for me. It would have been a different series if they had just left the burden of having to wrap up the Skywalker saga out of it. If you had had the imagination to come up with something on your own, and leave the original characters alone, maybe refer to them. If you couldn't do them justice, I probably would have accepted this better. But, putting that extra burden on it, yeah, that's just too much for me. I'm not going to be able to get over that. So like I said, this will forever be known to me as The Rise. It's not going to be Star Wars or Skywalker. It's just The Rise. And I will not judge each of these new trilogy movies on their own. I will see it all as a trilogy right now. So in other words, The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise are all in the same bag, all right, to be put out on the curb on garbage day. All right, that's what it is for me. All right, that's it, man. So that's how I feel about it. I'm sure there'll be much to discuss about this, as time goes on. Some people think that this was J.J. Abrams' way of making up for, The Last Jedi? But I don't think so. I don't think that you can make up for everything that we've been through as a fandom without apologizing. You don't get to do that. But I'll be talking about that on another video. But yeah, guys, that's it. I sense a coughing attack coming on. So I'm going to go on and wrap this up. Now, you guys can get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about it. Like I said, it's perfectly fine if you like the movie. So, you don't need to feel the need to come into the comment section talking about, yeah, but I loved it though. I don't know what movie you were watching. No, we don't want to do that, okay? Get in the comment section. Let me know how you felt about all of this. And, let me know anything that I might have missed. And you can like, you can share, you can subscribe, as I always say, and I thank you for it. You can catch me on Twitter. I will be there. All right, guys, that's it for now. I will catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.